Well, thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I'd like to start by saying, really, that it's not every day that we get the chance to debate an issue which commands such a high degree of consensus among members of this House. So I'm very glad to say that the opposition continues to support the passage of the bill sponsored by the Honourable Member for Buckingham, and we, of course, welcome the government's support for the bill. And I'd like to congratulate the Honourable Member for Buckingham on getting the bill through to this stage. And of course, a little bird tells me that it's apparently his birthday today, so I'd like to add my congratulations to him on that as well. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I don't pretend to be an expert in this area. There are not many thefts of tractors or combine harvesters in my Aberavon constituency. But it is nonetheless absolutely clear that the theft of vehicles and tools is a blight on our rural communities. These are particularly pernicious crimes because they attack the very basis on which farmers and tradespeople are able to earn a living for themselves and their families. While these are clearly long-standing problems, the need for action has perhaps become more pressing in these precarious economic times. In terms of the substance of this bill, its focus is primarily on vehicle theft, specifically all-terrain vehicles, ATVs, and quad bikes, which will be subject to new requirements for immobilisers and forensic markings to be fitted before they can be sold. Despite this relatively narrow focus, debates on both second reading and in Bill Committee reflected a widespread consensus among honourable members that the scope of these changes should be expanded under the secondary legislation which the bill enables. In particular, tradespeople across the UK are facing serious problems as a result of tool theft, particularly from those who store their equipment in vans. According to data from surveys carried out by the Direct Line Group, more than half of roofers, electricians, plumbers and carpenters have reportedly been victims of such crime. During committee stage, the Minister in fact said that, and I quote, "My starting position is that if we're going to bring forward statutory instruments under the bill to deal with ATVs, why not do the other tools at the same time?" That sounds like a very sensible position to me. Can the Minister therefore provide perhaps some further detail on the progress of work to address any technical challenges that such regulations might face? And perhaps he could tell the House when he expects the relevant secondary legislation to be introduced. Finally, it would be remiss of me not to raise the issue of enforcement. As my honourable friend, the member for Halifax, said at second reading, the bill, if introduced, would be a formidable starting point, but there are no two ways about it. The underfunding and under-resourcing of our police forces has undermined their capability for more than a decade. As is so often the case, what it really boils down to is that this legislation will only be as effective as the levels of prioritisation and resourcing for law enforcement and implementation are adequate. On that basis, I look forward to hearing from the Minister in more detail about how the government will ensure that rates of detection and prosecution of these crimes will be improved. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Crystal.